What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dual Screens Gamescast, episode 6. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, for the first time ever, we now have that elusive third guest. But first, I want to introduce you to the man that you do know, and he needs no introduction. He is with us each and every week. He is Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
Dude, we have a guest this week on the show.
We do.
And I'm excited.
I told you it was going to happen.
You've been teasing this. My balls are aching for a release. And I was like, this mystical guest, this legendary person, I'm not sure who it is.
No pressure. No pressure.
But the problem is, Steven, we spent some time with this guest before hitting the record button.
We did.
And I like the cut of his jib a lot.
Yeah, did I not say that exact phrase, Cam?
Yes.
You did, actually.
This is why we're a great team. You know?
Indeed. And that elusive third guest, he is Cam. He is from the Nintendo, I say Nintendo every time because of your logo. It gets me every time. I'm going to get this. Hold on.
Got it.
The New Entertainment System Podcast.
Yes.
He is Cam.
Hey,
how are you, Cam?
Doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is fun. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. It's good that we finally were able to get a time going. So
yeah.
Collaboration.
Before we really even made this show a show, when we were still doing Nintendo Dual Screens, we were deciding what this show was going to be, what the interview show was going to be, and we wanted this show to primarily be just Andy and I so that people could get used to Andy and I, because for most of 2019 and 2018, we were only voices. So we wanted people to see faces, you know? Mm-hmm. And so... But down the line, I said, you know what, it would be really cool if every once in a while we kind of rotate, somebody else in to get fresh voice and all that stuff. So you are the first ever guest on the Dual Screens Gamescast.
Yeah.
So
cool.
You did it. And the reason why is because I absolutely adore your show, your podcast. I think it's one of the funnier.
It is very adorable.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's hilarious. I am infinitely jealous of some of the guests you get on your show. You guys do such a great job. So why don't you tell our listeners real quick, what is the New Entertainment System Podcast?
Yeah, so the New Entertainment System Podcast is a show I do with my boy, Nathan Brandt. He's aka Two-Headed Giant, if you've seen him on the Twitter sphere. It's a show where we have a robot that is definitely totally not a spreadsheet. That basically just takes bits and pieces of video games that we just dumped a lot of info, a lot of different genres, different IPs, different little twists and stuff. And we've started outsourcing some of that, letting people submit their own stuff. And the robot will just mash all of them together and give us a good and or terrible game to talk about. And then we spend about 15 minutes pitching it. And we usually do that with a guest. And it's a lot of fun and it's very, very silly. It's just a really, really good time. We really enjoy doing it. So yeah, that's that show.
It sort of reminds me of a Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, definitely.
But for video games and just complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah, it's hilarious from doing that how much we realized how weird actual video games are. Some of the stuff that we come up with is oh, this is relatively grounded, but then there's just other batshit insane stuff out there, which I'm here for. It's great, but also it's just really cool to think about.
When I'm not laughing at the stupid shit some of you guys are saying, I'm also really angrily yelling at you because I'm like, no, you don't do it that way.
Exactly.
Do this. This would be a good game. Why are you making shitty games?
There's only been there's been 2 episodes I haven't been on, and I'm like, no, that's not how you do this. And I completely understand that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the New Entertainment System Podcast. That's available pretty much everywhere where you get podcasts.
Yeah,
I assume,
definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. But the show that you're listening to right now, listener, this is the Dual Screens Gamescast. This is a show where Andy and I, and sometimes that elusive third guests, go over the top stories from the big 3 video game companies and a wild card, and we declare who were the winners and losers of that week. If you want to listen to this podcast live, you could do so on twitch.tv/dualscreen streams every single Sunday night, somewhere around 9 p.m. Today we started at 9:30. But we're usually around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Gamescast will post each and every Monday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And listen, If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Don't be a doucher. Get in there and leave a review. We actually have a couple of reviews. I wanted to bring them up, Andy, if you don't mind.
I was gonna say leave the doucherness to us,
Yeah, we are the douchers.
or at least to me, at the very least.
So we did get a couple of new reviews. One from our very own friend here, Patrick Hickey Jr.
Love that. Guy.
5-star review, a wonderful show. Hilarious and well-informed, even if Steven is a Rangers fan. Let's go Islanders. And then one from our Patreon producer, who we'll introduce a little bit later on, Colton Nestler, said the topic is voice actors, indie devs, witty banter. This is the podcast for you. Hello. Please listen to this wonderful passion project that has had the devs of CatQuest, Mage Quit, Moonlighter, and more. You won't find a better independent podcast with this repertoire of guests out there. Look at that. See how we did?
He picked some nice games there. We've had higher profile guests, but those are good choices.
Those are good games.
Very nice.
Yeah.
They were good. They were good. Well, this week's show is going to cover another pretty good game called Ratchet and Clank. That might be on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft sees no competition in Sony, and the plague has finally hit the gaming news sphere.
It was inevitable.
It was going to happen. But before we get into that, let's touch on a little bit about what else we have coming on this week. We have the Dual Screens podcast, which is an interview show where Andy and I bring on an industry guest and we discuss their career and any passion project that they have. They tell us their story. And Andy, who do we have coming up this week?
Oh, it was a great recording. Very last minute.
Mm-hmm.
I am sort of drawing a slight blank.
Oh, because you had the plague.
I had
That's
the
why.
plague, and it happened so fast. It all came together so quickly.
Well, that episode is out there. Well, I want you to tell us who we have coming up this week.
Oh, that's
for
right.
Thursday,
and we're recording that episode later on this week. I think we're recording on tomorrow, which is Tuesday.
Yes. Well, yes. If you're listening to this on Monday, yes.
We spoke to the last friend last week.
Yes, it was. I was gonna say yes. So this past Thursday we had Alessandro Biolo from The Last Friend, an awesome indie game that combines tower defense with side-scrolling beating up game, and really great episode. Just an El Salvador-based dev, like the only one there. He actually was responsible for making the first video game ever out of El Salvador. So it was a fantastic episode. So yeah, it was a great episode. Get in there. We did not record Andy Explains It All because Andy had a surprise visitor this weekend. So that is going to be recorded tonight after this, and we are going to post it up as soon as possible.
Sounds like I got my period when you said it that way.
Yes, Andy's Aunt Flo came to town. But those are those shows, okay?
But for the upcoming episode.
Oh, the upcoming episode. Yes. Who do we got?
We have the developer of Unto the End, which is
I don't know much about this one, so I'm excited.
I think I first saw this game for Nintendo's very first like indie showcase that they did like 2 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like a side-scrolling intense combat adventure game.
I like that. I like what I'm hearing.
It's another wife and husband dev team.
Oh,
our second for the podcast, which is great.
Interesting. I love it.
And I know this game is premiering on Xbox Game Pass.
Nice.
And
okay,
I want to
cool.
get into that, how that whole system works. So that's gonna be a really fun episode to talk about. So yes,
that'd be fantastic.
That's coming this Thursday.
So that's going to be this Thursday. Yeah, awesome. And folks, if you want to support us on Patreon, you get all sorts of bonus stuff. Go to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our aforementioned Patreon producer, Colton, the apprentice Nestler. We cannot continue to grow without your support. And remember, as little as $1 gets you a couple of things. It gets you into our VIP Discord channel where you can chat with us, each other, and our indie dev guests. A bunch of them joined this week. So feel free to get in there, give us $1, and you get that. You'll also get a bonus episode each and every month in which you vote the topic that we discuss. And right now, what's winning this month for February's episode, just to give you, there are two topics that I was really excited about out of these. One of them was another Steve Explains It All, this time for Dragon Ball Z, which is currently in second place. But in first place right now is Steve wrote a TV pilot, and we're going to read it.
Oh boy.
For the show.
Oh boy.
So that's currently what's in the lead. So if you want to go check that out, go to patreon.com/NDS.
We're doing the
podcast.
table read.
It's time to get into the show, baby. 10 minutes in, and getting into the
Yeah.
show.
We're getting better at
We
this.
did it. We did it. It is time for everybody's second favorite segment of the show, Adventures in Gaming. 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 Gentlemen, this is where we discuss what we've been playing this week. And Cam, since you are our guest, let's start with you.
Yeah. So I impulse bought an Xbox One, which is a weird thing to say. I hopped in on like the that Xbox All Access plan that they have, so that like $20 a month thing for. I just got like the Xbox One S all digital, so I've been just kind of seeing what all is in Game Pass because that's kind of my first exposure to it. But honestly, I've just been playing Halo. I really I spent just an ass load of time playing Halo 3 on on my 360. I just played the absolute shit out of those, but I never actually played the campaign of 1 or 2. And so I actually just finished up the Halo 1 campaign tonight. And I'm kind of surprised at how well that game still holds up to this day.
It really does.
It is a testament to how well that game is made. There are definitely some rough edges, and like not even really talking about like graphically or whatever, but it does very much feel like a launch title for the original Xbox.
Right.
Like some of the level design is like a little archaic, and I think they tried to fix that a little bit with that graphical refresh they did for the Anniversary Edition, where there's like some arrows on the ground pointing you towards things, which are really helpful, but there's definitely some issues. I was just playing it on normal difficulty, and there was a lot of like random difficulty spikes, which I had a problem with. But other than that, like I thought the game, it's great. It's Halo, and that's kind of what I wanted out of it. I just started to like maybe an hour ago, and probably go back to that after we're done recording here, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I've really just been kind of playing that, and that's really about it. Honestly, it's been kind of a busy week, so I haven't had like too much time to play a whole lot of games, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? That's just that happens.
Totally.
You're not alone in that,
Oh,
for sure.
yeah. Unfortunately, apartments need cleaned and people have to be visited. So,
right.
You know.
I'm not about that. Live in squalor and be a hermit.
Hey, I mean, I'm thinking about it. If I can play more Halo, sure, that sounds all right.
Like, no, if you play more Halo.
All right, Andy, what have you been playing, bud?
So I finally finished Dead Cells.
Ooh, nice.
That's good.
Great. So I have to pay my what would have been $20 this month.
Correct.
I didn't beat that fucking game.
Yeah.
So I beat that, but it's a weird thing because that game can't be like quote unquote beaten because you can keep playing and unlocking new skills and new things, and now the DLC just came out and there's mutations, so I feel like I've barely scratched the surface with it. But I saw credits. That's all that counts. That's what our rules stipulate.
Is that all that counts?
Yes, if I see an end credit scene, I've beaten the game.
You can't really beat a roguelike. I'm kind of
really
with
can't.
Andy on this one.
Like I beat Rogue Legacy fairly quickly, but I played it like for months after I beat the game.
Like I've put like 200 plus ish hours into like Enter the Gungeon, and
because you can keep playing and playing.
You can finish all of the boss fights, but I mean, really, quote, finishing that game is everything checked off, and no,
it's really not.
Not doing that.
So
Missed Enough in our chat says you beat the tutorial.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So that's kind of done now, but I'm still be playing that game, I feel, for a long time because I want to get to that DLC at some point. I picked up today Owlboy, which I had one trophy for when I first started playing it. So I got nothing done. I had paused it at the first dungeon entrance, and I beat the first boss today.
Well done.
It was a lot of fun. That is a really nice looking game, I gotta say. Gorgeous pixel art.
Yeah.
So goddamn good to look at. And I got to I want to say, the 5th Colossus in Shadow of the Colossus.
Wow, okay, you're making your way through.
The flying bird thing.
Oh, that bird. Yeah.
I've attempted 0 of my backlog this so far.
Yeah, and it's a short month, and we're
I
going
know.
to PAX East in 16 days or so.
Shut up, Andy.
So
Nobody
we're not
asked you.
playing no games. We're on a trip.
As I said, nobody asked you.
So that game it's so odd to see. That game was gorgeous back for its time on the PS2, but the PS4 version totally blows my mind away.
Yeah, it's one of the prettiest games I think I have ever seen, for sure.
It's a spectacle.
Yeah.
And I really wish they had done more with it, like added some more stuff, but still it's everything that made the original great, but just gorgeous, even more so.
I'm really happy with that remake that they touched on the controls a little bit.
Yeah.
God, I really, really like that game. I played it a lot on the PS2 release, but good Lord, does it control terribly.
Right.
Like, it is not fun to play.
Well, listen, maybe in like 2-3 years, we'll get a remake of The Last Guardian with better controls on PS5.
Yeah, sure. Great. Blue Point's working
From
on
your
something,
mouth to
right?
God's ears. So I have made a critical error, Andy.
Are you playing just Apex and nothing else?
I'm playing just Apex and Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my god.
So Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished the Frieza saga. Now I know that means nothing to you,
It
but to
doesn't.
our listeners, it might mean something.
Yeah, I got you.
My favorite saga in Dragon Ball Z, because that was when I got into Dragon Ball Z. Okay. And I checked my game clock after a little bit, and I was like, 11 hours, 12 hours, whatever. And then I noticed that it jumped a lot when I had the game running in the background and not actually playing it. So I had to kind of had to fix it. But I'm about 20 hours in, but I think that's closer to, I would say it's closer to like 16, 17 hours.
You realize that you bought this game after we did this whole backlog thing, right?
Yes, I am astutely aware of this.
Hey, at least you own up to it. That's good.
It's like you cut your own hand off.
Correct. That is exactly what happened. Now, here's the thing. I started Cat Quest 2 up. Like I'm pretty sure I'm like close to the end in that game. I put it up on my PlayStation right now, so that when we are done recording, I'm just gonna play it and just get it over with. I'm just gonna get through it.
Right.
None. 0 excuses will happen. I just got a notification on my computer. This is how my life has been lately. I just got a notification as we're recording that I'm running low on disk space on the computer.
Nice.
So, which means I am now frantically going into my files and I'm deleting as much as I can from this computer so that this show does not get screwed.
I have an announcement to make.
Make that announcement.
If you'd like to see me tomorrow to pick up some more games for me that you'll play instead of the games you're supposed to play.
Oh boy.
I think you wanted to borrow Control, and there was one more thing, Resident Evil 2. Was that what it was?
Correct.
I can give you, if you like, a 4 terabyte hard drive.
Oh my.
I think will be more than enough to store all the goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 1 terabyte, but I don't record directly to it because I'm scared. So I did a whole video. I did an unboxing of. So Andy, our friends at Level 99, sent me games.
Great guys.
They sent me the Shovel Knight Exceed.
Oh, the board game stuff, the card game.
Yeah, the card game. So this has Plague Knight, Polar Knight, Treasure Knight, and King Knight. They sent me that, and then this is relevant to our interests here, and listeners, if you're not watching the show, I am currently showing this to them. I also got it's not in there. Sorry, it's in the other box. But I got 2 other characters added to the game.
Now, let me ask you this before you go any further.
Yes.
Are you super into this game? Are you enjoying it?
I enjoy it a bit, but I don't really have anybody to play with, but I like collecting the cards right now. It's very heavily anime oriented. So I'm going for the video game characters, not the anime characters.
If you want, this could be a fun idea. I could bring the actual mat with me to PAX East and a deck and my deck of cards.
You should.
And we can play in the hotel.
You should. because I also got Fight
Mhm.
from a robot named Fight,
Obviously.
and this one is relevant to your interests.
Uh-huh.
This is the Beheaded from Dead
Oh
Cells.
yes,
Hey.
love.
So he's got his own little character, so that's cool. So
Alright.
so those characters join my Shovel Knight characters,
Okay.
who I also do have Shovel Knight, and also joins my Street Fighter, my Ryu, Zangief, Sagat, and Akuma.
That was that was a fun game. We were playing it last year at PAX East. We had some fun. A little confusing.
Yes.
I think we both
Cam, are
played.
you aware of what Exceed is?
I actually have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Exceed is a 1v1 2D side-scrolling fighting game, but in cards.
Okay, great. That sounds fucking great.
So you get one 2D plane, you've got your two characters on the 2D plane, and then based on what attacks you're using with your hand, you'll do things like move up and attack, or move back, or pull, or jump over, and like stuff like this. So you're actually doing a 2D fighting game, but in cards.
That's really
it's really,
cool.
really cool.
That's really
it really
cool.
is cool.
I'm
Now,
gonna look that up after this.
The
That
only
sounds
thing,
rad.
though, is if you don't possess an engineering degree, you can't.
There are a lot of rules,
It
so I would
legit-
say
So it's a card
practice.
game then.
It sounded like
Yes.
it was a NASA rep.
there's energy gauges that you need to be aware of, because like in a true fighting game, when your energy gauge goes up, you could power up, so you can use this energy to do special moves that cost energy, or you can wait till it's all the way up, and then you could transform your character into his like super form. It's interesting, just
That sounds
to say the
really
least.
I'm
It
gonna
is.
look into that.
If there's a Dragon
really
Ball
cool.
Z deck, I think you're set for life.
That's what I'm waiting for. That's all I'm waiting for in life.
All right.
All right, so that is what we've been playing, and now it's time for a minute of Apex with Steve. And starting now at 22 minutes. Okay, so hey, it is time for Apex Legends Talk with Steve. Well, I got some very good W's this week with my boy Mikey Kirsch and our other friends, Porky and Clogmonger. Just a great group of dudes. Been playing really well. I don't really like the new character as much as I thought I would. Revenant, he's not that great, at least with my skill set. He's not really built for me, so I've kind of only been playing him if I needed to for like dailies or weeklies. I am about, I think I'm level 12 in the battle pass, which is cool. I am a couple of crafting materials away from getting a new legendary skin. But other than that, no real crazy changes have happened in the game, so there's really nothing crazy to report, except that the season is in full swing. I'm not really playing many ranked matches, although I should, and Mike Kirsch sent me an invitation to play right before we started recording, so he knows that I have an addiction, and he is part of it, and he is my drug dealer, and that has been 1 minute of Apex with Steve, and that was exactly 1 minute.
That was good. Yeah, you nailed
You're
it.
getting
I'm
really
proud of
good
you.
at that.
Yeah.
So good.
Nailed that like a split hog.
So great. So goddamn
All right.
good you are.
It is time for us to get into the Dual Screens report, but before we get into the top 4 news bits of the week, which we will just declare who the winners and losers are of the week, let's talk about what didn't make the cut. And the first one that did not make the cut here, I will start it off for us, because I don't think Andy's even in the doc, to be honest.
I totally am right now. I see it.
I didn't see your little cursor, so I'm just going to move on with my conversation as I was. So Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 2.5 Remix has been spotted in the Microsoft Store. That is from a Reddit post on the Xbox One Reddit page, so that was interesting. I guess. I mean, cool.
I honestly saw that and I'm like, oh, those aren't out yet. I thought they were.
Yeah.
I remember they announced
shocked,
them,
too.
and that's awesome that they're coming, but I straight up thought they were already. So shows either how much I'm paying attention or the fact that like it should have probably just been there before this, but whatever.
Like, I thought it was released when the whole Final Fantasy Collection came to the Xbox. I was like, wasn't that part of the deal? Like, here's all
think
the old
that's when-
games.
Yeah, I think that's when they
There's this.
announced it. It was
Yes.
like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
think you're right.
that's one of those things that like obviously until like very recently I wasn't plugged into the Xbox ecosystem at all, so I just kind of wasn't paying attention, so I just straight up assumed, I'm like, oh yeah, those are out now, like you can play those.
Our friend Buzz is not in our chat tonight. He's been quite under the weather, Andy. So we do wish him well. He's been very sick boy.
I think
So
I have what he has.
Man, I've never met a person that gets food poisoning.
Are we
more
gonna
than
go?
you.
Can we talk about your kids for a second?
No, my kids are normal. They get normal illnesses because they're mutants surrounded by other mutants, Andy.
Right, but I feel
Okay?
like it's just an exorbitant amount of times that they get ailments.
You're an exorbitant amount of time. All right, Andy, let's get into the next story here. This is a good one. This is one I think you would like.
Yes, I do like it. So apparently, 30% of Switch Lite owners already own a Switch. And
Go
Nintendo
figure.
must love that news. It's like, shit, buy our thing twice.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Right.
That seemed to be the kind of deal whenever they did the whole like 3DS model stuff. Like people were like, "Ooh, shiny new thing," and they're like cheap enough, you know. And
But this
also,
is it's the same, it's a gimped version of the original though, which is weird to me.
also like I rarely use mine on my TV. And so like having one that is just handheld sounds pretty good. Am I gonna get one? No, because I'm cheap. Granted, I bought it. I just bought an Xbox. So.
But wait, the one you have is already handheld though. So
Yeah.
what are you really missing out on?
Yeah, exactly.
Not having a docking option if you want it one day.
Yeah, it's interesting like that is a thing, but from what I understand, I haven't actually spent any time with one, but they're very comfortable and like seem to work incredibly well, and people who have them fucking love them.
They
So
do.
Saw somebody playing with one on the train on Friday, and it does look pretty cool. That D-pad, man. The D-pad is
that's real nice.
It makes me wonder
nice.
if Nintendo had like an internal target, like if this is a win or a loss for them. Do they expect more sales from current owners or less than this?
I don't
30% is a big number.
It is.
That is a big number because
Given
there's
how
a
many
lot
people are
of
out
out
there.
there. I think that I don't know if that's something that they necessarily expected. I don't know. Like you could take that angle from like the 3DS upgrade stuff because
Right.
a lot of that stuff did have very similar things, but also like this is very clearly aimed at like kids who are still playing 2DSs or 3DSs, and like it's a cheap economical option to get them into the Switch ecosystem. Also around the time a new fucking
Right.
Pokemon game came out, so I don't think
Right.
it's maybe just kind of a happy byproduct. You know, it's a cool
Right.
it's a cool stat, honestly.
Or if like mom and dad own a Switch and then the kid's like, I'm on my own. Well, here, I'll get you a Switch Lite.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who like they like it's like maybe couples who share Switches, but then they were like, okay, well the Switch Lite's out, so let's just get you a Switch Lite so I can have my Switch back. So
My fiance has been begging me, like, we're not buying that shit. There's gonna be some sort of pro thing. It's gonna happen eventually. Just wait it out. It's gonna be worth it. I promise you'll be worth it.
But I mean, you could just spend the $200, get the handheld one, and then just trade one of them in for the pro
Or I
one.
could just have a nice steak dinner and a massage instead.
Yeah, but
Or I could
You
buy,
play-
or I could buy
play
games with that money.
on a stick, though, I mean,
I'll just buy more games. That's what I'll do.
great.
I guess
Something.
you know what.
Right.
The thing I think that was brilliant about it was, yeah, it's a way to get those kids into the ecosystem, and not only that, but they're gonna get like $20 a pop more per game because the games are for Switch are full priced for the most part. So like where you were used to spending $39.99 on DS games and 3DS games, now you're spending $59.99. So it's this kind of sneaky way of getting kids to, have their parents buy into the more hardcore, I guess, ecosystem.
Right.
Andy, why don't you take this next one, because this story you actually put in our
this
Discord,
was
so I would
me,
like for
yeah.
you to take this next
So,
one as well.
Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which is a new fighting game. I think it's based on an anime series, if I believe. That's what
I
it
heard
is.
it was like a browser game originally.
Sure.
I did like a little bit of look into it. I never knew what Grand Blue Fantasy was. So
Well, apparently no one did, because when this news hit and that it sold 150K copies in its first day, way more than Street Fighter V or Tekken 7 in their first week combined, everyone was like, what game outsold Street Fighter V and Tekken 7? Now, I've been following this game because there is an RPG coming out called Grand Blue Fantasy RE Link, which looks like a little bit of Monster Hunter World meets Dragon's Dogma, but it's all anime and intense, and it has Platinum Games gameplay.
Great.
So crack off the bat. But there's this fighting game that they were also making, side games with developer, and it looked really, really good. It wasn't like a 3D game. It was a 2D hand-drawn anime style fighting
Absolutely,
game.
it's absolutely gorgeous. I was
Yes.
watching Giant Bomb play it this past weekend on just like a live stream they were doing, and I was just like, I am not a big 2D fighter fan. I like playing fighting games very casually, but man, just looking at that game, I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking buy this. Damn it, like it works.
Now,
It,
just for some
yeah.
more numbers here, so Street Fighter V in its first week in Japan sold 42,000 copies. Tekken 7, 59,000. Samurai Showdown last year was about 40,000. Dragon Ball Fighter Z at 69. Yeah, baby. Thousand
Yeah.
copies. And these are all like in their home territory where these series were born in and
Right.
thrive. And you have this kind of like weird upstart fighting game that was never a fighting game series, just did its own fighting game with this IP, and it crushed all of them in its first day.
Yeah, I think there
Yep.
was like kind of wild amount of hype
There
thrown behind it.
was.
I didn't really expect. I'd like seen a little bit of footage here and there because Arc System Works, who's the developer, they do
Yeah.
fucking
They do.
incredible fighting games, and like their pedigree absolutely is very well deserved. Like they did like the first time I ever noticed them was Persona 4 Arena, but they've done so many other things to do like Guilty Gear, Blades Blue. They did Dragon Ball Fighters, which is great.
Great series. This is
And
also. Yes, go on.
so like it's just really neat to see something that just kind of came out of nowhere seemingly. Like I don't know how big Grand Blue is over in Japan. Like maybe that's something that I just am not
Right.
plugged into at all, but it's really cool to like see another win for them because I just really like their games a lot.
This is also Evo's newest main stage member to join the team, which is another big get for this title, which again, phenomenal.
Watching the gameplay this weekend, I'm like, yeah, I would absolutely watch the top 8 of this. It
Like,
seems like last.
There's no MK11 at Evo, but we're bringing in fucking Grand Blue fan viewers.
I heard there is MK11. I heard it was just not part of the graphic.
Well, that says a lot, though.
Yeah, like it was like a bracket or something that was empty, but that was like MK11.
It was a wild card. Is that what that was?
I know like that maybe isn't one of the like main games that they're showing that's like put on by
Right.
Evo. It heard somewhere, I don't know necessarily the validity of it, that maybe NetherRealm is doing their own thing at Evo.
Maybe.
Like if you bring any fighting game to Evo, people will totally start a fucking bracket for it. Like people play fucking Windjammers competitively at that thing and that gets stream time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get like if we don't get any like Mortal Kombat. I'm sure it'll show up at some point, just not in like a massively official capacity.
So it's going to be Ed Boon is now the Sony of Evo. Do my own thing, guys.
Kind of. Who knows?
All right, so moving on, there is a huge PSN sale going on right now, and it's going to be for about 2 weeks. And this started, so this ends. This is called the Critics' Choice Sale. It ends on February 18th, so you still have a little over a week to get these games. But I mean, it's ridiculous. Plague Tale: Innocence is half off. You got a bunch of Assassin's Creed games. Battlefield game, Blasphemous is $10 off. Borderlands 3 is $30 now. The Super Deluxe Edition is only $50. The Modern Warfare Battle Pass Edition is $63.99, down from $79.99. Concrete Genie is down $12. Control is $35.99, down from $60.
Yeah.
Days Gone is $20, down from $40. Death Stranding Digital Deluxe Edition is $47.99, down from $80, and the core game is $35.99, down from $60. Detroit Become Human is $5 off, down to $14.99. All the Deus Ex games are on here. Devil May Cry 5. You could get the Devil May Cry 5 with red orbs. I guess that's just like you get extra upgrade stuff.
Game currency.
Yeah.
That is down from $59.99 to $19.79.
That is a great deal.
Cry 5 fucking rules.
I may have to get that. God fucking damn it.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z is $15. I mean, there's just you gotta go to the PSN and take a look at the sale. I'm actually gonna drop the link in our chat.
And while you do
right
that,
now on
while you do
Twitch.
that, you're mentioning Assassin's Creed and game sales. There was this
Ass Creed, yeah.
There was this Assassin's Creed sales news bit this week.
Oh,
Odyssey is outpacing Origin sales by 50%.
wow,
That's
a big
that's
number.
pretty good. Like I enjoyed Origins a lot, but Odyssey kind of did it better. I feel better story, better world, better characters.
Also supported that for like a year and change after it came out too,
Right.
which is awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm Greek and I'm biased against that backdrop of gods and mythology and
Sure.
snake-haired ladies.
That's why all
Like
us
monsters.
Ginzos love what's his name? Ezio Auditore.
Right.
We love him.
Ginzos.
We're big fans. Well, us little Ginzaloons. We also got PlayStation opened up a forum, I guess, or a sign up thing to get more PlayStation 5 news. So it looks like they're starting to gear up for some sort of PS5 drop soon. But yes, you can go
Yeah,
right
it was
now
on February
to
5th, don't you know? It happened already.
this must have been what it was, because I think this dropped on February 5th. So it says it launches holiday 2020, whatever. It says PS5 coming soon, launches holiday 2020. We've begun to share some of the incredible features you can expect from PlayStation 5, but we're not quite fully ready to fully unveil the next generation of PlayStation. Sign up below to be among the first to receive updates as we announce them, including news on PS5 release date, PS5 price, and the upcoming roster of PS5 launch games. So you go to PlayStation.com, and you can find that if you want to be, I don't know, one of the gajillion people that's going to find out.
Yeah.
After it's leaked on Twitter somewhere.
Can I add to this a little bit so that it is PS5 related?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I can. So I recently read that Sony may be looking to undercut pricing compared to the Xbox Series X. There was a recent interview, I believe, with Shuhei Yoshida about the PS5, and he was very dodgy about the price question. It wasn't like, well, we'll announce it later. It was more like, well, you know, we want to make it affordable, but it's a really hard balancing act, and we got to consider the markets and what our competitors are doing. So I think they're waiting to announce the price after Microsoft does to possibly make it cheaper. So that's speculation right now.
Yeah.
That's the scuttlebutt on the street.
Yeah, I that wouldn't necessarily surprise me too much. I don't think that it's gonna be. I don't see them doing another $600 console drop at all.
No.
Because the
Never
PS3,
again.
honestly, not that long ago in like the grand scheme of things.
Get a second job.
Yeah,
Damn.
Fuck.
Get a second job.
God. Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of this stuff is like it. I like speculating a lot about some of this stuff, but whenever it comes to like price details and stuff like that, you're always going to get like the same answers out of like any rep from a company.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah, because it's always going to be like, well, you know, we have to factor in like this, and this. I'm like, yeah, that's how pricing works.
Right.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I always think is like really fun whenever people like go and run with it on like these news articles, because I'm like, what else did you fucking expect you were gonna get? You know, like they're not gonna tell you something if you're like getting an official comment. It's just we'll find out soon enough. I'm whatever. Like it's fine.
It just makes me more upset that they won't be at E3 this year, because if they have a cheaper console, Microsoft does go first in the order of conferences at E3. So if they had been there, they could have done a second mic drop that they did years ago.
Yeah.
There was
the first E3.
Yeah, that was like the biggest win, I think, for Sony and anything. It was the crowd's reaction to that price announcement was unlike any I've ever seen in my entire life.
That video was like ultimate big dick energy.
Right. It is.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
All right, it is now officially time to get into the dual screens report, and this is where we give one big news story for each of the three big companies. That's Nintendo, Sony, and that is Microsoft, and then a wild card, and we let you know who the big winners and losers are of the week. And we are going to start us off with Nintendo getting affected, or should we say infected?
Yeah, you're right.
Ooh.
God damn, look at you with the wordplay.
Private Division is delaying the Outer Worlds on Nintendo Switch due to the coronavirus impacting their Virtuos team working on the port to provide them with enough time to finish development. But they'll now be releasing the physical version on cartridge. So once they have a new launch date, they will let us know.
Oh,
And this
that's
wasn't
what
the
I
only
have.
coronavirus issue.
See, that's what I have in the butt.
Sure as hell hope not. But that's not the only thing. It has been there's been a lot of news going around stating that manufacturing of consoles might be delayed. That even next gen stuff might not be able to make, or either not be able to make the holiday season, or will be in severe shortage due to literally factories aren't open yet. Because of the entire cities in China are in quarantine. There's nobody in the streets. Nobody's going to work. They built a hospital in 6 days. Take that, BQE.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Take that.
I mean,
infrastructure for this country.
Yeah. So I mean, they're hit real hard with this virus. So of course we're hoping. I mean, we all play video games for a living, and we live in this like hyper meme culture. But like, how far are we from the zombie apocalypse? Because I think it's close at this point.
Listen, I've been waiting for this day my entire life. I have watched Shaun the Dead more times than I've orgasmed. So I'm ready to rock and roll with this. I know exactly what to do. Go to the pub and get drunk.
We don't live in a very good place for that kind of thing to go down.
You just need to find the high ground, really.
Okay, Andy.
We live in New York. It's like a World War Z where they can climb on each other and get to the top of the roof.
We live in New York City. Getting high ground means getting in a high rise, which means it's full of people. Which means it's full of people
52 stories high.
Which means it's full of people that are going to turn into zombies. Exactly. Exactly. It's like throwing a bag of birdseed in a bird cage and just watching what happens. That's no bueno, sir. No bueno. But that sucks for Nintendo because that's a big release for them. It to be in the conversation of cross-platform parity with The Witcher 3 and even Skyrim, even though it's a 2 generations old game, which believe me, we're going to get to later. Still, this is kind of a big blow to them, and it's upsetting.
Can I add to that? Which I've been a lot for this whole show, apparently.
Yeah.
Outer World just announced a 2 million sales mark. It's pretty impressive for that game.
Yeah,
great stuff.
Little game.
That's awesome. Yeah. Shout out
that's
to
all.
them.
That's on my list. I want to get that one too. All right, the next story, Andy. You want to take this one?
Yes. So apparently, and this is a Stephen called it moment, just so you all know.
Indeed.
That there is a new Ratchet and Clank game as a PS5 launch title coming our way.
All right, let's go. Let's fucking go, y'all. Let's fucking go.
This comes courtesy of, this is an odd way of putting it, former industry journalist Colin Moriarty. Isn't he still sort of like reporting on stuff?
No,
he's not reporting. Yeah,
right. But he still gets scoops though from his insider friends, I imagine.
Nope. He's been excommunicated.
He's been blacklisted.
He's been blacklisted, aka canceled.
Well, he has a source, and he has a scoop.
He does.
That apparently, while discussing the potential Spider-Man 2 release with his co-host Chris Raygun, the note of a new adventure coming for Ratchet and Clank is going to precede the next web-slinging title. So, yeah, the exact quote is, we're going to get Ratchet and Clank in between that, Spider-Man 2018 and its sequel, on PS5, said Moriarty. I feel like that's going to be a launch game. That Ratchet and Clank game that's been long in development at Insomniac. So, seems like it's a little bit of speculation there when he says stuff like, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good guess. There's nothing concrete to back it up. Like Colin, he's been right about these things before, I feel.
So I feel like even like honestly, just even taking out the idea that like anybody said this on a podcast at all, like that remake did really well. Mm-hmm. They were totally gonna make another Ratchet and Clank game. And I'm very excited for it. That's like easily one of my top franchises of all time. Like that remake very, very good. It's an incredible game. I wouldn't be surprised if we got one like for the PS5 launch. I'd love it if we did. If we don't, I also wouldn't be surprised. Like it's one of the
Yeah.
with Ratchet and Clank, it is just kind of it's a known quantity. You don't really have to do it for like to like shock or like wow anybody with like, oh well, look what we can do. Maybe for like graphical stuff, but just because of what's going on in the game. But I mean, it's a fine game. Like they're not like anything special. You kind of know what you're getting into, and I know Insomniac does have multiple teams. And I think the North Carolina one did the actual like Ratchet remake, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were working on this one too, because they did a great job. But that's kind of I know. I am fully expecting at some point there to be another Ratchet and Clank game. I don't know if it's going to be launch title. Who knows? But
I mean, if the system's holiday, I mean, it would make sense to give something towards that skews a little younger.
Sure. And people know what Ratchet and Clank is. Like it's been around since the PS2. Like people know who those characters are.
Right.
Yeah, and it is kind of too soon for Spider-Man 2 to pop up, I think, for the PS5.
Yeah, I would agree.
And if they're gonna go for something along the lines of Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as a launch game, which makes more sense, you wouldn't put two huge titles together in a launch window. Having Ratchet and Clank feels like a good complement to something like Horizon for a launch.
Right.
Yeah, I think
especially if they do it as a budget title again, if they do that $39.99
totally.
stuff for
and I think that they saw how well that worked out for them, and I would imagine they would do the same thing. I would if I were in their position, but I am not. So
all right, so moving right along her. This is the Microsoft story here. This is from The Verge. Microsoft's Xbox boss says Amazon and Google are the main competitors going forward. Sony and Nintendo aren't the main competition in the cloud world.
Yeah, I love how it totally changes the context with the little
with the little tagline.
The little tagline altogether.
So this is Phil Spencer. When you talk about Nintendo and Sony, we have a ton of respect for them, but we see Amazon and Google as the main competitors going forward, Spencer said. That's not to disrespect Nintendo and Sony, but the traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. I guess they could try to recreate Azure, but we've invested tens of billions of dollars in cloud over the years. This also this is no surprise considering Sony is now shaking hands with Microsoft over cloud technology. Nintendo has already been working hand in hand with Microsoft on a few things as well. This makes sense for Sony and that survey that they put around last week that we spoke about last show of possible remote play on the Switch. Like I just feel like cloud is going to be a way for all of these companies to be on each other's systems in some way, which when you think about it is weird, but at the same time, if you're a Microsoft and your Series X is the powerful console, is the best console, and you could still play PlayStation games through some sort of PS Now app or some sort of whatever, if it is remote play and you need to have your library, it might be a different story. But if there's some way to do that, people might go to the more powerful console, and then Sony loses out on those sales, but then they get the subscription sales. So it's a weird thing. It's kind of like Netflix being able to be on, the Vita or I guess the Vita, because Sony has their own streaming crap for movies. It's just a strange way everybody's kind of shaking hands, and I'm really interested to see how this is going to work a year from now, what things are going to look like for the three companies, and that's not even paying attention to Stadia, who is completely dead in the water since what do you call it, the Steam,
the NVIDIA GeForce thing.
The NVIDIA, that's the one. I'm sorry, not Steam. Yeah, that is going to just annihilate everything in its path, as far as Stadia and PC gaming is concerned.
I think this kind of isn't really a surprising remark from Xbox, really just because I think they are starting to incorporate that Xbox ecosystem into more of like the Microsoft brand. And I know that like Microsoft, like their kind of goal with this whole thing of getting into the games industry back with the original Xbox was to kind of like just kind of get Microsoft stuff in the living room. Like it like having those good games and building that cool ecosystem is like, I don't want to say a byproduct because that makes it sound like an accident, because they very clearly invested time and effort and like resources into it.
A lot of money.
Oh yeah. But like, if you do think about it, like Microsoft absolutely is as a whole a competitor to Amazon and Google. And like, if you start to like go more service based with that Xbox platform, you're going to start like incorporating more of your Microsoft stuff into it. And that would just wouldn't make like he's totally right. Like, and I do like completely think that Phil Spencer means absolutely zero disrespect, but like from the grand scheme of things, like for Microsoft as a whole, you know, like Nintendo and Sony, as far as video games and stuff goes, that's very much like small fry stuff. That's not kind of what their end goal here is. I think they're doing really well with their Xbox games division. I think it's like they're making a lot of very smart moves lately. I really do think that selling a box is no longer their priority. Like, I think they could just not care about that at all. But I think it is really neat to like essentially have him be like transparent and say the thing that I think a lot of people were already kind of thinking anyway.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. And I think this goes back to what I said before, like when we're gearing towards the whole next gen conversation, my thought was that they would sort of quietly exit the console space. And the Series X to me sort of feels like their sort of Steam box solution. Like, well,
I can see something like that.
All of our games can be played on most devices. We have our new cloud service now, but there's a box for those who want it. This box. And this sort of like further reinforces that realignment with Microsoft, because I think they can't do what Nintendo and Sony can do. There's that brand loyalty really isn't there for them. They can't sell millions upon millions of consoles and have that strong game attachment ratio. So this feels like if they're pushing this as their priority platform, then yeah, Google, well, Stadia is trash, so that's no one's competitor at this point. But I see that's like in their eyes, that service is where their real focus should be.
Totally.
If Google was ready to do this step, if Google was ready with Stadia and everything that they promised Stadia would be, and they tested the pricing models a little bit better for a little bit longer, I think they would be a nice competitor in this arena.
Right.
A year from now, it really depends on if Google gives up on this thing or if they revamp it. They cannot go with their vision for it right now, because the vision that they've laid out is prohibitively expensive for people. It's not worth it.
Steven, as a former employee of Google, they don't take kindly to things that quote unquote flop.
Right.
They will just burn money to make something work. And the
unless it's Google Plus
example of that, is YouTube. YouTube has been a money pit for Google, but they can't let it die because it's fucking YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like now entering the game space, they can't. You can leave a Google Plus and you could abandon a Google Glass, which is total shit. Buy my $2,000 glasses that take pictures while you're walking down the street. But I feel there's more at stake because it's gamers now who are watching the Stadia, and they will make it work at some point. They'll just keep pouring money. But I feel like smart people do work there. How did you get this so wrong? But that's a whole other conversation.
I think it's just the top people who make the business decisions, making the marketing decisions. I think those people are the ones that were kind of missed the mark on what the mainstream are willing to put into something like this. I don't think they were ready for people to say, hold up. You can't make yourself appear like a Netflix thing or a Disney Plus thing,
right,
but then also charge us for the movies that we'd be
but
renting.
No one thought to themselves, like, what if we can let them play their own library of games? No, we'll make them buy it a second time if they want to play those games again on our platform.
Right.
And then
like that's just weird to me.
We're going to do what you did better.
Right, because they could. If they did that route, there's no doubt in my mind Google has the infrastructure and has
Yes.
the horsepower to do it better,
That's what
but
I'm
they have to
saying.
figure out what it is.
Do you think Nvidia is even close to any sort of top 20 like top companies or in the globe? No.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think
I'd be
so.
surprised.
I don't
They're
think so
probably
either.
Tencent owns some of
decently
them,
up
maybe.
there. Yeah.
And yet they got it right and Google did not. Doesn't that say something to you?
Yeah, I don't.
There's a lot, I think.
All right, here's our wild card
I
situation.
love this
here.
wild card.
The Wonderful 101 Remastered, which is already completed, because it's coming out next month or at the end of this month or whatever. Is started a Kickstarter, and currently they have 25 days to go. So this Kickstarter is 5 days old, 5 or 6 days old, and they have already raised $1.533 million. I'm sorry, I'm gonna reread that. That's $1,533,000 already, and
It's a lot of money.
what does that mean? They wanted $50,000 to do a Switch port.
Right.
Okay. They wanted $250,000, right, for a $250,000 for a Steam version, $500,000 for a PS4 version, and then that $1 million sweet spot gets them a time attack mode. Okay.
It gets better, I promise.
Luca's First Mission, a brand new 2D side-scrolling adventure starring a young hero.
This made me happy.
I have a question.
Right.
Why didn't you just kickstart that? Because clearly everything else was done already.
Here's the thing: like, you go from a PS4 version, and then the time attack costs you $500,000. Then to do a whole new First Mission thing, it's $500K more.
Like, what? Like,
So,
none of this makes sense.
I feel like the weirdness of this Kickstarter, I think, comes down to, like, Platinum has historically looked for ways, like, they have actually, like, looked for publishers to do the Wonderful 101 remaster. That's something they've been very vocal about. And I know Nintendo, they wanted to bring it cross-platform. Nintendo said, if we fund it, it's only going to be Switch. They didn't want that. So I'm pretty sure that, like, the development has been, like, in progress on this for a while. It's just that they needed a little bit more money to, like, get this out, like, do the publishing end of it, do the self-publishing stuff of it.
Right. Yeah.
But also, like, and think about it, like, if your game goes to Kickstarter and doesn't raise $50,000, then why are you putting it out? Like, especially something with, like, Platinum Games put behind it. I think it's, like, kind of a good litmus test for whether or not that game's going to do well. But also, you know, like, the other stuff, I think that you do get into, like, okay, the PS4 version, cool. Like, the time attack, the Lucas First Mission, all the other stuff, like, that requires, like, probably more development. And I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to come out, like, day and date with it. Maybe it's going to be a future patch. I have no idea. Yeah. But I think that's a kind of a smart, weird move. But
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you think setting the Switch version at $50K and then it being so much more expensive for the Steam and PS4 versions, do you think that was their subtle way of saying, of like a little dig at Nintendo?
I don't know.
You don't want to publish our thing? Fine, we're going to make you the cheapest shit that we're going to annihilate.
I would be inclined to say no, just because I feel like that's not something that you would want to do if you're working, like, with them very regularly and trying to keep that professional relationship up.
Yeah, we're still doing Bayonetta 3 here, Steven.
No, I'm just saying, do you think that was like a subtle way of doing it? Because it's a ridiculous amount of money between that and a PC version, which you have to think that the PC version is the first one anyway.
Could you imagine?
Typically,
I
don't know. It's weird.
If this
It's
thing
probably
only
go ahead.
hit the Switch mark, and it was only released on the Switch, like, we told you guys.
Yeah, no, and honestly, at that point, they probably would have been like, "Yeah, you told us." Like, sorry. You know, like,
we got.
Yeah, I mean, it likely the Switch version was already done. Like, you know, and they required that extra little bit of a push for the extra publishing and maybe, like, a little bit of port work that then they would need to do. So,
but this just seems, again, like you said, Cam, it just does seem weird to me.
It's a weird one. I'm super here for it. I've wanted to play this game, but
I saw it as a rumor like a week out, and I was like, this can't be real. It's Platinum Games. They could afford to do this. Sure, they'll find someone to do it for them. Kickstarter. like
Well,
a
I mean, I have a feeling that they probably wouldn't be doing a Kickstarter if that wasn't like the only solution that they
Right.
had. Because I mean, there has been a lot of story with Platinum Games having some money issues in the past. Like Nier Automata really fucking helped them out.
Oh yeah.
And it's been good to see them be able to like break out and do things on their own and like build that kind of like reputation to like have like their things do pretty well and like people like what they put out. And it's just I totally get it. Like if no other company wanted to publish it, just fuck it, throw it on Kickstarter, and then like that's a way to do it. I'm honestly just more happy that this exists and that it is clearly going to happen.
I hope it leads to a Nier Automata remake at some point. That was
like 2017. They don't need to remake that. That was like 3 years ago.
Give us a sequel.
Oh, wait, they were involved in the original one though.
Yeah, the original one was just Square Enix.
Yeah, my bad.
I'd love a remake of that first one.
But... Oh yeah, that and Drakengard. Holy shit, great games.
All right, gentlemen, it is now time to declare our winner and loser of the week. So just to go over it again, we have coronavirus affecting the Outer Worlds for Nintendo. We have the Ratchet and Clank possibly coming as a launch title for Sony. We have Microsoft laying down that big old pangus on the table and saying that Sony and Nintendo don't matter. And the wild card is the wonderful 101 annihilating its Kickstarter goals and is still inching closer and closer to $2 million. Cam, who is your big winner of the week?
It's kind of a tough one. I think I'm more inclined to go with the wonderful 101 remaster. I think that it's really I always think it's really cool whenever like Kickstarters like this are very successful. It's very clear, at least like to me, that they've really wanted to get this game out for a while, and this is kind of a last resort. And to see that just be met with like so much like a good welcome, and like they're fucking $1.5 million and there's still a month left on this thing. Like that's insane. I think that's really cool. I think it's really great that they believed in this thing enough to really go through all these steps, try to make it happen, and that enough people believe in them as a studio to make that happen. I think that's really great.
Andy?
Money talks and bullshit walks, gentlemen. And I think I'm going to go with Cam on this and give it to Platinum.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's really nice to see that their reputation is paying up for them, that they have such a solid fan base that people know that they deliver quality games. And it's a game that it didn't reach that many people on the Wii U because it only sold 13 million copies.
I think there was something going around that it made more money on the Kickstarter already than it did from actual selling on the Wii U. I think in Japan, yeah.
So
if every single Wii U owner bought that game, it probably wouldn't have made.
Right. Well, then a game selling 13 million copies is a big deal, but there's only 13 million Wii U's out there, so this could have sold that
13.6.
Yeah,
something like that.
And it wasn't like a pivotal franchise for Nintendo. You know, they struggled to sell even their top IPs for the Wii U, so this I didn't think did that well. So huge win, I think, for Platinum Games. Huge.
I am also there with the wild card. I think Platinum Games gets a huge W on there, and I'm going to start us off with the huge L, and this is going to be a trend for me.
Okay.
And it's something that I'm sure will delight Buzz Killington. But fucking Sony, man, give us news. Give us something. Give us something for PlayStation 5.
Yeah, they gave us a website. You can learn more about PS5 when it comes out in the holiday of 2020.
They gave diddly dick. What they're giving us is speculation and rumors and people guessing and pontificating, and I'm tired of it. Give me something.
You want something real, don't you? You want some concrete information. You want to see more than
I want I want some biddies.
Listen, we're gonna get a new refreshed logo in bold in a new font.
You know what I would? You know what I would be happy with? And this would be the winner every single week. Just show it. Give us the startup tone.
Ooh, I'd be really into that, honestly.
Yeah.
Just give me that with no picture, just a black screen startup tone.
Okay, bring back the PS1 startup noise. I need that shit.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That is just the most flawless thing in the universe now, isn't it?
Good.
It is so obnoxiously loud, though.
Nothing has ever topped that, ever.
GameCube got close.
Yes, I was like, GameCube was close. Maybe Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
I love the Game Boy Advance.
Man.
But yeah, that PS1, it sets the tone for every game.
Good. It's good. It's real good. Yeah.
Like, oh Jesus!
So
every time it would blast the speakers out.
I am going to, I think, continue my trend for this segment, and the biggest loser for me is Nintendo because they got virused.
They did.
They should be taken out in the back and shot with a shotgun in the face, like an effective
They got
horse.
the plague.
That's how you should do it.
Oh boy. Cam?
This one's tough for me because I don't really feel like I guess I'll go with the story about the Outer Worlds, just because that is like a genuine, like, awful thing that is happening over like in the affected areas. But also, like, I think that even like from a games perspective, you can like totally spin that in a positive way of like, hey, by the way, since we are like pushing this back a little bit, we're going to be spending a little bit more time like allowing this to be on the cartridge instead of having like a full download, which I think is like important to some people. Like, I personally don't care, but it does like make it easier to play that game. But obviously, like, it is never a good thing whenever like illness is rampant, and like hopefully things go smoothly from here on out and all of that. But yeah, I guess that would probably be the big bummer of the week for me.
All right, listeners. So you get that in your Excel spreadsheet here. We have the wild card was the winner, the big winner, 3 W's this week. And Sony got an L and Nintendo got 2 L's. So put that in the spreadsheet, Buzz Killington. And now it is time for the hype zone. And this floored me. Legitimately floored me.
This made me sad for humanity in so many ways.
Folks, what you don't seem to understand is that there's
the virus to just take us all out.
there are very few video games that take over a life of their own and begin to, I mean, they're on every system, and you know exactly where I'm going with this. So we all know Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls.
Never heard of it.
Skyrim, never heard of it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's on the Nintendo Switch. It's on the PlayStation 3.
It's
on the smart fridge.
Toaster. Yeah.
It's on your smart fridge. Yep.
It's
on
your
Alexa.
Your Amazon Echo. Yeah. Right.
Yep. It's in your Tesla. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's pretty much everywhere. But none of those places matter because there's one place that blows them all away, and that's Steam. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2019 only, 2019, 2.5 million years of in-game clock time has been spent playing Skyrim. 2.5 million years.
You know, oddly enough, Steven, that's also Cam's current Halo 3 count he's got going on right now.
Close. I'm sure it's close. Can you even imagine how many people are playing that game on Steam? Because I feel like that's math we can do.
Fun fact that I just Googled. 2.5 million years ago was the Ice Age.
So we played
That's
an Ice
cool.
Age worth of time.
That's wild. Oh my god.
Okay, so let's assume, how many people can we assume are playing Skyrim on Steam?
Apparently a lot.
Do they have the user count on there?
Players.
I don't know if that's stuff that we have access to.
You can look at the
here it
top
is.
games of the week, I think. What's the most trending and most played or active users?
Yeah, I don't see it in this article. 2.3 million users. No, that's not it.
No.
That's a different thing. That would be horrible. That would mean everybody's playing a million years. All right, so let's say it's 10 million people are playing that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
How about this? How many hours are in 2.5 million years?
Well, it's 255 years per player.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I don't even know. How is this even possible? How many players are playing? Some people are just leaving the shit on.
Oh,
They have to be.
So it looks like in 2019 there was roughly at any point between like 18,000. The highest point looked like it was about 18 to 19,000 players for 2019, and it just went down from there. So they're like a very dedicated bunch of people, which is awesome. Like that's cool.
But if you do the math for only
how's it physically
19,000
possible?
people, there's so many hours in a day.
Well, it's also not like it's also like that. I'm just going off of like the concurrent players on like a Steam charts. So like,
see,
yeah,
if this was across all platforms it was available on.
And that's also like the highest count like per day.
Oh, wait a
minute.
Wait a minute.
So
wait a minute. We got hyped.
Okay.
I think
we got hyped. No, I didn't misspeak. The Reddit post misspeaked.
Oh,
misspeaked.
So the Reddit post, the picture of the article is Skyrim. So they said, see, Skyrim losers are spending 2.5 million years. No, Steam users have clocked 2.5 million years.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So just
so
like
now
totally.
This makes more sense. So but even so, that doesn't make sense. That so many people have to be playing games.
Right, but that makes a little more sense though.
So is that just in 20?
Was that 2019 or
in 2019? No, in 2019. In 2019, 20 billion 789,726,718 hours of gameplay.
Oh, 20 billion.
No, 20 billion hours.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Well,
people fucking like Skyrim, I guess.
Well, no, it's not. That's not just Skyrim. That's not just Skyrim. I'm saying this Steam.
Yeah.
So any game played on Steam goes in that 2 billion.
Yeah, but still.
Clock.
That's a lot, man. I get it. There's a lot of people out there playing video games.
And Steam is my least played platform. I'm not a big Steam guy, and I'm a huge gamer.
You also can get into like there's some games like that are like more of like the casual end. Like I know some of the older like PopCap games, like before they were bought by EA, you can still have through Steam, and you have to still like launch that to launch those games. So I don't know if stuff like that's counted, but also like some MMOs and things like that let people just pour a ton of time into it. That is a crazy number. But
it's still very
you got some work there, Epic Game Store. You got some work ahead.
All right. Let's move along.
Fortnite's doing all right.
They're doing fine.
They're doing okay.
It's not 2.5 million years yet, but we'll get there.
Oh, they'll get there.
They're almost there. All right, folks, let's move along. We're going to get to our mailbag, but before we do, let's tell you about a couple of our sponsors. We have Melted Pins, which is run by a friend of the show, artist Kelsey Lynn, who does original tattoo art-inspired pins and buttons and canvas bags. Let me see if I could find mine. I can. If you're watching the video, that nap time pin, that was a design by Kelsey, and it's fantastic, and we love it, and we love her. And if you want to support a small artist, go to meltedpins.com and use the checkout code NDSmelted, and you will get 10% off of your purchase. Simple. Meltedpins.com, NDSmelted, you'll get 10% off. And go and follow Melted Pins at Melted Pins, and let them know that the boys at Dual Screens sent you. We are also sponsored by The Minds Behind the Adventure Games by Patrick Hickey Jr. Now, let me tell you about this book because it is fantastic. All right, if you want to know about video games and how they're made by the people who made them and the crazy stories that go into making some of these games, you have to check out Patrick Hickey Jr.'s books. This is the second in his series. He's got multiple books in the works, including a Minds Behind the Shooters games, Mind Behind the Sports games, and a couple of unannounced titles that he's working on as well. And this book is jam-packed full of really, really great interviews, including from Maximum Carnage, Grand Theft Auto, Strider, Pitfall. I'll open it. I'll tell you more. Those are just the ones that he lists on the back. I'll tell you more of these shits, man. Epic Mickey. You got Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring, Hunter: The Reckoning, X-Men Legends, Double Dragon, the Die Hard trilogy. What are you doing with your lives? You want to know about video games? These books is how you do it. Go to patrickhickeyjr.com and you can buy the book directly from Patrick. He literally boxes these things in his house. and he'll send them to you, and he'll personalize them, and he'll give you little goodies inside. Or you can go to Amazon.com and buy them right from there. Again, let them know that the boys at Dual Screens sent you. Okay? Do it. Okay. It's time for our mailbag. We have 3 questions here.
Let's do it.
And then we're going to open it up to our chat and see if they have anything that they want to say to us. Sound good?
Sound
good.
Let's hit it.
This is coming from Nuff via our Discord. What nacho topping do you consider yourself?
I'm definitely chili.
It's a,
Chili.
It's a good question.
Or jalapeno.
I think I might
spicy.
just be just the shitty nacho cheese. You know?
You need it.
Yeah. It's like it does the job. It's fine. Nobody's really complaining about it.
But it's a necessity. If it wasn't there, you
Totally. Yeah. That's right. Like you
Right.
can't have if you have like I feel like that is step 1 of nachos because otherwise you're just eating tortilla chips plain, which are great. Don't want to like I have a bag sitting over there that I will totally just fucking destroy probably right after this podcast. But yeah, like it's not nachos unless you got the cheese. So I'm gonna go with cheese.
Yeah. Interesting. I think I'm going to be. First of all, Andy, I think you're the beans.
Oh, is that what you think of me?
Because you're delicious, but you make everybody a little uncomfortable.
Ooh, I like that better.
Also, digestive problems from beans.
So it's a little double entendre.
Yeah. Let's go there.
So
I am the
I'll
sour
take that.
cream.
I'll take it.
I am the sour cream.
Ooh, that's totally you.
Okay. All right.
Not everybody wants sour cream on their nachos. Some people put a little dollop on the side.
How about this?
Maybe
when they have sour cream, those who want it fucking love it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Acquired taste.
That's awesome.
That's sour cream. This is coming from our Patreon producer, Colton Nestler, via our Discord as well. The Oculus Quest launched on May 21st, 2019. When do you see a successor to be launched? One with an updated screen/processor. Now, I'm not big into VR. I don't follow it very intently, and maybe somebody in the chat can correct me on this. But didn't they just come out with not a better like a beefier one, but a Oculus Go or something like that? Wasn't there one that's like no wires?
I think that is the
want to
Quest.
say, what the fuck is an Oculus Quest? Because I don't follow there.
So the Oculus Quest is really fucking cool. It's straight up just a standalone VR headset. It's all in one. You don't have to like do a bunch of cables and everything. It's literally just all like inclusive. You just throw on a headset,
So
grab
that's
the hand things, and you go. I don't know if I see them doing an updated version of that next year, especially since they just rolled out the you can treat it like a Rift if you have a certain USB-C cable that you just plug right into your computer that supports that like technology. So it you can have that extra power bump if you want it. I don't really see them doing that. I think that investing more money into something that's a little bit more expensive goes a little bit away from what they're trying to do, which is make the cost barrier of VR drop a little bit, because it is a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit less powerful. It's kind of like the Nintendo Switch of VR, if that makes sense.
Do you think that they might be able to get the current technologies that are in the more beefier ones pared down to a Quest 2?
I don't know. I can't really speak to that just because I'm not really I don't really keep up too much with a lot of the technical stuff with that. I wouldn't be surprised if them or their competition are looking into stuff like that. Just because the Quest does seem to be doing pretty good, people really like that thing. And everybody I know who's bought one has absolutely loved it. It just takes all of the hassle away from playing cool VR games. So,
all right. This little essay comes from Kirsch via our Discord as well. So get comfortable.
Let's do it.
It's been a tough week for Blizzard. After launching Warcraft 3 Reforged, the company has seen significant backlash from fans regarding the game's performance. The game has been severely review bombed on Metacritic, achieving the lowest user score on the site at 0.5, with players referencing performance issues, cutscenes being drastically different from the announcement trailer a few years ago, changing certain elements of the game, among other things. My question is, after this and the whole China Blitzchung debacle from last year, What can Blizzard do, in your opinions, to get back on track with the shareholders, fans, and the gaming community at large? And gentlemen, I have a simple answer for this. Diablo 4. Don't fuck up Diablo 4.
I think
if you just don't fuck up Diablo 4, they'll be fine.
Right.
Honestly, yeah. Like, and I think them picking up, God, what's his name? The guy who just left Microsoft's first party, the Gears of War guy.
Oh yeah, that executive. Yeah, he recently joined.
He just went over to Blizzard for the Diablo team. He's overseeing Diablo 4, which I think is a good get for them. Yeah, I think that like they've obviously had. I would go as far as to say they've had a rough year and change. And I think people are really being, I think, rightfully critical of a lot of the things that they're doing right now. I think that I think if they like stick the landing on Diablo 4, that is going to do so much for them. I think there's going to have to be a whole lot of, especially like politically, that they need to do that is going to like, or at least be like transparent about a lot of things to kind of get right by their player base and a lot of the people who have raised a lot of those issues with them. But also like, this is video games, and unfortunately the way the world is, release good game, people forget about problems. So like if they want just kind of the easy way out, then I think they really just need to stick the fucking landing with Diablo 4. And then I think a lot of people, unfortunately or fortunately, are gonna like just forgive their sins, at least temporarily. But I think they're gonna have to be really, really stick that landing, because people are really gonna be keeping an eye on whatever they do.
Agreed.
So
Andy?
My thoughts are, I love seeing a big company have just monumental failures and
yes,
just
you
people
masochist.
It's the Schadenfreude. I just love it so much.
Yeah,
I understand it.
Taking pleasure in their pain. But I think this all kind of goes back to their Diablo Immortal announcement when they were saying, don't you guys have cell phones? So I think it was only a matter of time of having Blizzard pissing in their fans' eyes, and the fans finally blinked. And now you have just a streak of just horrible news for them between the Hong Kong situation and then with this Warcraft 3. And then it wasn't only that it was a bad relaunch, they were refusing refunds of the game and banning players for showing them a loophole to get their money back. And I also want to just say for the record, when you say the word review bombed, I feel that term applies to more like when we had Platinum Games, Astral Chain. It was fans spamming it with bad reviews. It wasn't released on anything but the Switch. This game deserved every bad review it got, I feel. So it wasn't really like an intentional, like a mob was like, let's just give poor reviews for the fuck of it. No, it's a shit game. Deserves all the shit it got. Now, Diablo 4 could be their saving grace, but for the fact that Diablo 3 had some fundamental issues. Diablo 2 is still the pinnacle of that series.
Yeah, that was one of the points I was going to make, is that I think Diablo 3, as much as it became a really good game, at launch it was kind of like shallow. It was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, in and out. It was like I don't know. I think I played it for about a week or two before it kind of.
I played the console version of just like base Diablo 3, and I finished the story in like an afternoon, and then I never picked it up again.
Yeah, it was tough. But they added to it. I think they just need to like be the company that comes out with a game that's complete finally. Like just it's done. It's here it is. Yes, we'll do more, but we're gonna do more based on what you tell us you want, not based on what we couldn't put in the game.
Right, and to Cam's point, having that Gears of War member joining their staff now, I think paints a more rosier picture for at least Diablo 4 going forward.
Right.
And also how Overwatch 2 is handled as well. That's another big thing on their agenda. And if we'll ever see another StarCraft game in the pipeline.
I don't really have, like, right now, I don't really have faith in them to stick the landing on this, or honestly Overwatch 2, because Overwatch 2 is already muddy. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Oh God.
I
So
feel like it doesn't need to be, but I
yeah,
I wish like it would be as simple, because like ideally I would love for all of these games to be great, because there's so much like great potential there. But I mean, you get to like a lot of like corporate politics and like how they handle business at like Activision, Blizz, like above them, and it's weird. And I wish it was just as easy as like, oh, we'll just make a good game. But like, making video games are
it
hard.
sounds simple enough, right? Make a good product, make a quality title.
I don't want to.
Activision is 100% the problem here, I think.
I don't want to like just make it sound
They're
like
a huge component, that's for sure. And so is Tencent, apparently.
Oh man, I don't want to talk about that. All right, though that chat. Do you have anything that you want us? We're gonna open the floor to you. So if you have any questions you want us to answer, please do so right now. In the meantime, we're gonna tell you about the Retro Game Club. For February's games, Andy has given me Silent Bomber, and I have given Andy Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. So those are gonna be the games we're gonna speak of in depth at the end of the month. So it's gonna be It's probably going to be the week after PAX East, because PAX East is going to be full of guests and just crazy PAX
You
East talk
guys.
while we're there.
We have
So
fun people lined up.
yeah,
for that
we're
one.
going to do a lot of collaborating while we're there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, but the first week of March, we're going to talk about these two games that we assigned for the Retro Game Club. So please feel free to, if you have a means of playing those games, play along with us. That's Silent Bomber on PlayStation 1.
Yes,
Right,
correct.
Andy?
Mhm.
Yep, PlayStation 1. And Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, I actually played on GameCube, and that was specifically the version I told Andy, but whatever, you can play
I've
whichever
been playing it
version
on
you want.
PS2, and it makes me miss those kind of games. There was a game series that I loved on PS2 called Champions of Norath.
yeah,
Yes,
I
great game.
wish came back. And there was something that was a PSP launch game that was a similar sort of gameplay style.
Brother shit.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that sounds right.
Something Brotherhood of the Blade.
I don't think that ever came out, did it?
No, there
There were two.
There were two.
There were
of
two
them
of
on
them.
the PSP.
Okay.
I had them both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I just missed them then.
But yeah, it made me want to play more of those like isometric sort of like dungeon crawler games with just casting spells and being a badass wizard. But yeah, it's a weird kind of turn for that franchise to go from a really strategic, like, let me pause and set my commands for this next battle, to now it's like a full front action melee shit going on.
Yeah.
But it worked. And there was two of those games, which is awesome. Give us more of that.
Untold Legends.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
it was.
That's it. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. You were way
there-
off,
there were
by the
two of those.
way.
Yeah.
No, it was the second. No, the second one was Untold Legends: Brotherhood of the Blade. I
Okay.
think.
You think?
I think that it was either that could
sounds
have been
right.
the first one.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it was something like that. I had them both. The second one I didn't like as much as the
No,
first one. But,
that's also accurate.
but yeah, it doesn't look like the chat has anything to say because they're a bunch of communists. And so we are going to get to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. We did it. We got to the
did
end here.
it.
Now we're gonna tell you how to follow us, and then Cam is gonna tell you how to follow him. You can follow the show on Twitter at NDS Podcast. NDS Podcast. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at Pants Guy. And Cam, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at the Camdyman. That's TheKamdyman. I pretty much post about anything that I work on there. I do some Twitch streaming, also twitch.tv/Kam Konek. And also the New Entertainment System podcast, which I talked about earlier in the show. You can give us a follow at the NES Pod on Twitter.
How'd you get that Twitter?
We thought of the show name and jumped on it.
Well done. Well done.
Wrong one.
Folks, if you want to join our Facebook group, you could do so at facebook.com/group/Dual Screens Podcasts. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, please consider giving us a thumbs up, a subscription, and leave a comment on anything that you saw during the show. You could also follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dual Screens Streams. Thank you, Zazu Pitts, for our theme song. Thank you, Matt Murray, for our overlay, which, by the way, still has my name spelled wrong. There it is. Wait, where is it? There it is, right there. Steven with a V is not how I spell my
We
name.
gotta find new people. We've actually mocked that spelling on the show several times, which
I
to me is
know.
insulting.
I know.
It
And
sounds
the
like it was
worst part,
intentional. That's what I
The
feel.
worst part is that I didn't even notice it until last week.
You are a bad person.
Yes.
You are. I shouldn't trust you, but then again, I can't trust myself half the time.
So if you have some sort of thing you want to say, Mr. Nuff, aka Nuff, he made the overlay and he spelled my name wrong. So
Right,
please
call him out.
get him. Get him. Dogpile on Nuff.
And Nuff's coming to PAX with us. Is that correct?
He is. Nuff is joining us.
Now-
He's joining
now
the
a
Dual
little
Screens
doubtful.
team.
Unless
Now
he's
we're gonna-
trolling you, which I'm all for it.
I'm gonna Nancy Kerrigan his ass is what's gonna happen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to buy some of our stuff, go to teespring.com/store/dual screen shop. Dual screens and shop are separated by little hyphens, so sorry about it, but that's the way it happens. And that's it, man. If you want to support us on Patreon, get the post show for this, which is all about the backlog accountability club. It's simple. Patreon.com/NDS podcast. Thank you one more time to our sponsors, Melted Pins, and the minds behind the Adventure Games by Patrick Hickey Jr. Andy, before we sign off for the night, is there anything that you want to tell the kids before we go?
I'm very excited to deliver last week's Andy Explains It All after the show is over. I've been looking forward to it for a couple of days now, and I think it's going to be one of the best ones yet.
Very exciting.
Stay tuned for
V excited.
Now,
Will it be 2 hours?
It will not be 2 hours.
Thank God, because it is already
Listen,
11
I
o'clock.
made sure of that. I actually wrote some notes down for this one. And I want to ask you, Steven, when this will be released. Are we doing the same day thing, or should we do a Tuesday release for the Andy Explains It All? What do you think?
Andy Explains It All. So here's what I'm thinking. It's seasonal content. It was supposed to go up. It's an every other Friday thing.
Right.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we post it on Friday and then just do the following Friday as well.
I will. That sounds good.
Because what that will do is that puts us in the PAX East craziness. So that would be the 14th and the 21st, and then we would be off the 28th, which we're going to be at PAX. So that makes things easier for us, and then we could record something when we get back for the 6th. And yeah, so we have 4 more of these to go after this week's episode. So let's not record it tonight. Let's record it either tomorrow, Tuesday, whenever.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
But we still have the post show to do. But anyway, that's a little peek behind the curtain.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining me as always. Even though you're got a little bit of a.
You know what? I feel a little better being on the show.
It's good. The adrenaline.
Yeah.
And Cam.
Magic.
I think it was
Cam.
I think it was Cam's big dick energy that got me going.
Yeah, it is. Cam, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you on maybe sometime down the road. And that's going to do it. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Take care. And as always, please be excellent to each other.